Yeah. Okay. Namaskar, Shekhar ji. We have to start from here. Vam Marg Rata.
अच्छा, ओके. Okay, Vamamargarata.
Vam
I
Marg.
think we completed all that.
Yeah. Vam Marg Rata we completed. The next now. Yeah.
No, till Lopamudra we have completed.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, Lopa Mudra.
Yes.
Okay. Okay then. Okay. Prabodhini.
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 So the nama is Prabodhini. Comes from the Sanskrit root Budh. Budh means to know. So Prabodhanam means enlightenment. Prabodhini, one who enlightens. The prefix upasarga pra is used to emphasize on the nature of the awakening. Because awakening can happen at worldly level when you are made to realize a particular worldly truths. That is also awakening. But just to distinguish that the awakening we are speaking here is of a high and of a spiritual nature, the upasarga or the prefix pra is added. So prabodhanam is prakrishta bodhanam. So prabodhini, one who bestows the highest form of awakening. So Devi is clearly the one who is responsible for the entire process of the awakening to take place. Now, many of the namas, when we observe, they are representing either the Shiva and or the Shakti aspects. Even though we are calling them by these two names, essentially they are one entity, but functionally we are referring to them as Shiva and Shakti. There have been multiple reinforcements which have been made in the commentaries by Acharya Abhinav Gupta or Kshemaraja or even Yogaraja, wherein they have made it very clear that Shiva and Shakti are two aspects of one entity. And further, that is from Sadashiva onwards in the Tattva scheme, is the working of Shakti. So it is the Shakti who manifests, and therefore the involution process, the process of the person who traces back to the roots, is also the grace of Shakti. That is why it is called as Shakti Pada. So some of the namas feature the functioning of Shakti aspect. Some feature the aspect of the Shiva. So it is because of the grounding of this Sahasranama in the Agamic or in the Kashmir philosophy, which holds Shiva and Shakti as not two distinct entities, but functionally different. One entity which functions differently, therefore is addressed by the name Shakti there. Now, the reason is that there are multiple other systems wherein Shakti is a distinct entity. For example, according to the Shakta, Shakti is the Pradhana. Okay, so there is a distinction between the Shakti being superior who creates Shiva as a concept. So we are all talking about it from a theoretical perspective. Okay. And there is segment of or a school of within Shaivism also, which holds Shiva to be superior and Shakti not at the same level as Shiva. Whereas our system, Shiva and Shakti are no, they enjoy what is called as the samarasata, samarasya bhav. They are of same essence, samarasa. They are essentially the same, but we call them as Shiva because of the Prakashatmata. We call her as Shakti because of her Vimarshana. So it's only the functional difference that. So Prabodhanam is because of the Anugraha of Shakti. So Acharya Kshemaraja makes it very clear. It is because of not understanding one's own Shaktis that we are in the state of bondage. So the reverse is also there. Once there is a grace of Shakti and we understand what truly the Shakti is, we will realize that we are not bound by these Kanchukas or by these wheels, but we are essentially Shiva himself. So it is happening because of the Prabodhana, the awakening that is the result of the grace of Shakti, the Rudra Shakti, Anugraha Rudra Shakti Pada. So she is Prabodhini. The next Nama is Bhutatma.
Bhutatma.
Bhuta Atma.
Atma.
Atma is the essence in this context. Bhuta, that which manifests as the beings in essence. Bhutatma, or that which becomes the Bhuta. What is the meaning of the word Bhuta? Bhuta means that which has come into existence. That which had come into existence. There are several contexts in which the meaning of the word Bhuta has to be understood. If we are referring to a context wherein we are referring to the divisions of time, then the word Bhuta would refer to the time which is beyond or which has gone past the current moment. Okay, when we say Bhutkala or Bhutkal, it's the past. Okay. Vartaman is that which is currently in existence, and that which will come into existence is Bhavishyat. Now, in that sense also, when we understand the word Bhuta, it means that which had come into existence, but it is not current, because the current is the Vartaman. But normally Bhuta means thing of past or past. Similarly, we use the word Bhuta to refer to a set of beings. Okay. Very hard to translate it into English as goblins, demons, or and kind of things, because all these have very different connotations in the Christian mythology. Whereas for us, the word Bhuta is a set of certain beings who have certain powers, and it is these Bhutas who are the attendants of Shrikanta Rudra, who resides in Kailash. Okay. So in that context, the word Bhuta is different. Similarly, if in any of the philosophical discussion the word bhuta is used, it means the elements, the panchabhutas or panchamahabhutas. Prithvi, up, teja, vayu, akash. The sky, wind, the fire, water, and the earth. So it is important to know the context and also know the philosophical background before even understanding a particular word. So in this nama, when Devi is called as Bhuta Atma, from our system point of view, it is referring to the aspect of Shiva who exists as the entire manifested universe or the entire prapancha. How does it happen? Unlike the other systems of philosophy, which believes in an evolutionary model. What is an evolutionary model? For example, when we go to the Sankhya, which is the system which is adopted for the creation by many of the other schools, including the Advaita Vedanta. There is a Prakriti. Prakriti consisting of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas as the three constituents. From Prakriti, the concept of the universal ego or the Mahat comes up. Then we have Ahankara or Buddhi. Then it splits into the Tanmatras, the Karmendriyas, the Jnanendriyas, and the Bhutas. After the evolution has taken place, the evolute, okay, the product is different from the source. For example, as per the Sankhya, the Prithvi or the earth, which is fundamentally an evolute of the Prakriti, but this is different from the Prakriti. Okay, how is it different? It is as different as curds are different from the milk, even though the curds have come from the milk, right? Whereas our system, we don't have this evolutionary model, wherein after the process, the evolute is no longer having the same nature as the source from where it has evolved. Because if we do it, then we will have the problem of having to accept multiple realities, which will go against the fundamentals of our system. Because as per our system, there is only one reality, which is Shiva. Even though we call 36 tattvas, Acharya Abhinav Gupta makes it very clear in the Tantra Loka that there is only one tattva in our system, and that tattva is Shiva. Now, what are all the possibilities for Shiva to exist and manifest is what we see as the 36 tattva scheme. So, the Prithvi is not different from Shiva, even though at the functional level, we are not able to see that, see it in or see it as Shiva. So, the previous and the product, that is, the source and the product are non-different in our system. So, this Bhutatma as a nama is referring to the concept of Shiva existing parallelly as all the tattvas. Tattva Maya. The Tattva Mayata concept is if you put a horizontal representation for Shiva. Shiva who is existing as all the 36. That is why he is Tattvamaya, he is Bhutatma. Anything and everything that comes into existence as a manifested reality is Shiva himself. At the same time, he is Tattva Atita. When you put a vertical, when you put this entire scheme vertically, what is the difference between vertical representation and a horizontal representation is that in the vertical representation, Shiva's potency of being full of Chit, Ananda, Ichcha, Jnana, Kriya, etc. is fully manifested when he is Shiva, and it stage by stage he is wheeling it because of his Swatantriya, and by the time it reaches the Prithvi Tattva, it has completely hidden, okay, or it is completely wheeled itself. So that is how we put it in the hierarchical scheme. So when we put it in the hierarchical scheme, when we say he is Tattva Atita, we are talking about him as one who transcends the 36 manifestation. That is one who is not bound by any of the limitations. So from that point of view, the next nama, Paramatma, has to be seen. Why is he Paramatma? Param means superior or supreme. Because he is beyond the tattvas. Beyond is not with respect to any height, levels and anything. It is because it is he who is in his Shuddha Swabhava, no, in his innate nature, not affected by any of the conditionings. Therefore, he is Tattva Atita. Whereas when he wishes, when he desires, he manifests, he himself becomes everything till that last level of potential manifestation, which is Prithvi. He is Tattva Maya, therefore he is Bhutatma. So Bhutatma is the Tattva Mayata of Shiva. Paramatma is the Tattvatitata of Shiva. So Bhutatma and Paramatma. So these two namas are speaking or referring to the attributes of Shiva. The earlier Prabodhini was about the attributes of the Shakti Tattva. Okay. So Bhutatma and Paramatma.
Bhut, Bhut Bhav
Bhut
Vibhavini.
Bhavi.
Okay.
Bhav
Bhuta Bhava
Vibhavini.
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 Bhut Bhav.
Bhuta Bhava Vibhavini. Bhuta, things of past, Bhava or Bhavishya, in future. Vibhavini, one who manifests.
Tests.
Okay. So Devi is the one who manifests everything or who manifested everything which happened prior to this moment. And she is the one who would manifest everything posterior also. How do we explain this? It is simple because all the manifestations are happening in pure consciousness or in awareness only, in Chit only. The Chit is undifferentiated consciousness. It is beyond the scope of space and time. So when we say that all the manifestations are happening, all these manifestations are the way the Chit is presenting, or it is being seen by that limited or the individual consciousness. How the universal consciousness is being viewed by the individual consciousness, which is the observer, which is all of us. So since everything is happening in the plane of consciousness, there is no distinction between past and future in consciousness. In the Chidamsha, there is no demarcation of past and present. The past and present demarcation will come only when we are in a position to put something in or when we are able to observe something as units and composites of units, right? When do we start speaking about origin of universe or universe and the expansions of universe and kind of things? It is, we can speak clearly, or even the science is able to speak clearly post, let's assume that something called the Big Bang happened. After Big Bang, you can start speaking at this 10 to the power of 20, minus 28 second, what happened. Then, okay, the next moment gap, what happened. So it is only when you are able to have things composing of parts that you will be able to attribute, that is when that spatial integration comes, the temporal or the time-based implication can also come. So the space and time are two absolutely related concepts. One cannot be spoken of without reference to the other. Whereas when we speak of consciousness being undifferentiated entity, the spatio or the temporal differences does not exist there. Therefore, it is unaffected by the workings of the past, okay, or the present or the future. But in this Nama, that is not the idea implied. The idea is that any and every experience is happening within consciousness or within awareness only. So it is she who manifests all those experiences. Okay, so she is Bhuta Bhavi Vibhav. For the
Mangala.
jivas like us, Mangala, yeah. For the jivas like us, Devi is Mangala. Mangala is one who bestows or one who is auspiciousness herself. Now, to call Devi as auspiciousness, we will have to assume that there is something called inauspicious, and Devi is stark contrast of it. But unfortunately, this kind of thought that comes to us, I don't know if it came in any of your minds, but normally the moment you say auspicious, its contrast can only highlight this auspiciousness. Otherwise, you will not understand the implication of what is auspicious. Unless you know there is something inauspicious, the auspicious as element will not be highlighted. It would not make sense, actually. But unfortunately, all this binary conditioning that we have, right? This binary conditioning is, first of all, not part of our native tradition. We never viewed anything in the lens of being right or wrong. It is a pure Western metaphysics which feeds into these binaries. Either something is right or something is wrong. Whereas our drishti, our worldview was something that there are no absolutes. There cannot be any absolutes. Take a classic example in Mahabharata. Can you show any one character whom you can say was absolute good based on that our understanding or assumptions of what good or bad is? Even the highest the character who exemplifies all the virtues, Yudhishthira, even there you can go and find certain uh, uh, blemishes or certain actions which can be seen as unjustified or wrong. Say, for example, the lie that he spoke in the battlefield to his own teacher Dronacharya. Ashwattamo hataha, naraha na kunjara. Okay, that was a lie. Technically, we can defend that he was not lying because his whole statement does not imply Ashwathama, son of Drona, died. Because he added the word kunjara. Kunjara means the elephant. But the intention of that particular statement was so that Dronacharya hears only the words Ashwathama hataha. And he knew at the time of speaking, Drona would only hear those because the next words will not be, or something will be done so that Drona does not hear those words. Even though he could escape on technical grounds, but on dharmic grounds, it was not Satya or it was not truth that Yudhishthira spoke. There are few more instances like this. So there is no absolute good or absolute, and even in Duryodhana there are so many qualities. For example, in Kiratarjuniya Mahakavya, there is one opening of the Mahakavya. The Pandavas are in forest with Draupadi. Yudhishthira would have sent out spies, and the spies will come back and report to Yudhishthira about his kingdom. And the spies describe how well the kingdom is being governed by Duryodhana to an extent that people have almost forgotten Yudhishthira. So what do you call, what can you make out of it? Duryodhana was a very able administrator. So there is no absolute good or bad in, for that matter, the concept of absolute good, absolute bad did not exist at all. This entire view of the binary view is completely foreign to us. So when we say Mangala, contrasting it with inauspiciousness has been embedded in our thinking because unfortunately we are all trained in the Western models of thinking only. For someone who is fully into the Indic model of thought process, he would not or need not have anything in contrast to bring out the element of auspiciousness. I'll tell you why I am taking so much of pains to explain this. In the Shiva Purana and many other Puranas, there is a reference when Shiva comes to marry Parvati. So Shiva starts from Kailasha. Parvati is being daughter of Himavan. Okay, the capital city of Himavan. On the way from Kailasha to that city, Shiva's marriage retinue, the Bharat. Okay, the description of the Bharat speaks of Shiva wearing skin garments, okay, elephant hide on the top, the elephant hide dripping with blood. So he is wearing a tiger skin beneath. Okay, he is wearing snakes. Okay, he has smeared himself with the smashana bhasma. All these he is surrounded by all kinds of, and the description of the Bhutaganas are also there. Someone has only one eye, someone is having elongated ears, elongated nose, and all these kind of things, and the kind of music that is being played, all this. And seeing this, the mother of Parvati, Mena, wife of Himavan, she faints because she is unable to come to terms. How could her daughter live happily in this particular circumstances with the person who has come to marry? So Mena typically represents all of us, one who can think only in binaries like this. Whereas then, at the time of reviving Mena, Parvati explains to her that what you are seeing is, even though external appearance are like that, each of it is representing a higher cosmic truth. And she explains. The moment she finishes explaining, Mena gets up, and the Purana says that Bhagavan knows what happened and therefore he transforms completely. He transforms himself into a complete noble attire. Okay, all silk, gold, jewels, blah, blah, etc. But Shiva Purana is very clear. It says Mena sees him like that. So it is the change of perspective that resulted. Rather than Shiva needing to change his appearance, it is we, or it was the difference in the perspective with which he is being seen that made all the difference. So when we call Devi as Mangala, it is not because she is auspicious because of the presence of auspiciousness away from her. It is because anything and everything that appears is her has a higher spiritual truth or higher spiritual connotation behind it, which is absolutely beautiful. And that absolute beauty is coming from the source of all, which is Shiva himself. Therefore, she is Mangala, because the word Shiva means Mangalam. The term Shiva itself means Mangala, auspicious. And she being the Shakti, she is representing that auspiciousness of Shiva. Therefore, she is Mangala, the absolute auspiciousness of existence of pure consciousness. So, Mangala.
Sushila.
Sushila. Sheila means character or nature. Normally, the word Sushila means one who is good natured. Achhe subhav wale. Okay. But there is no fun in calling Devi as good natured, right? What does Devi mean as being Sushila? Sheila means nature. Su comes from, or it represents Shobhana, that which is the highest good. So Sushila means one whose nature is that of absolute good. When we speak of absolute good, we should remember that there are two concepts which the Upanishad speaks of: Shreyas and Preyas. Preyas means what we like. Shreyas means what is good for us. These are two things. So you can look at Shreyas and Preyas from multiple viewpoints. From an absolute Laukika viewpoint also, you can say, for example, what is good for us? Okay, in food, in concept, in terms of food and what we like. I may like junk food, which is preyous, but it may not be good. But what is good for me may be some form of millets kind of, just speaking. So at the Laukika level, it is. At the behavioral level also, in the Laukika sphere, we can talk of Shreyas and Preyas. I may like to be a rebel in the way I speak, the way I dress and kind of things. But what may be actually good for me, okay, in terms of emotional build-up, may be something different. At the highest spiritual level is where the word Shreyas and Preyas is explained by Yama to Nachiketa in Kathopanishad. Preyas is when we allow the senses to dictate terms to us. So Shreyas is always something that is decided by the Indriyas to us. That is why we say we like some. And the Swabhava of the Indriyas is always to look outward. It is to look for objects of bhoga, objects of enjoyment outside. That is how they are placed, that is how they are tuned. Whereas Shreyas is that which is absolute good, which is knowing the truth behind all the existence. And then Yama gives the Adhyatma Vidya, okay, Upadesha to Nachiketas. So when we call Devi as Sushila, it is she whose nature is that of absolute good. The being absolute good is to be established or to recognize oneself as we are, not as we perceive. So by removing all the wheels of imperfections and limitations, when we look at ourselves or when we recognize ourselves in our true form of being the uh, being being Shiva or being consciousness or Chit, that nature is what Devi represents as Sushila. So she is Sushila.
Paramarth Prabodhika.
Paramartha Prabodhika.
Paramarth Prabodhika.
So Paramartha Prabodhika. Well, if she is Sushila, it's very similar to the name Prabodhini that we saw. So Paramartha Prabodhika is one who awakens us to the highest artha. See, there are 4 Purusharthas, which the Shastras or the Dharma Shastra mentioned. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. The word Purushartha means the Artha sought by the Purusha. The objectives of human life. Purusha is referring to human being person. What is the objectives behind or what is the purposes behind the human existence? It is divided into 4-fold by the Shastras. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Dharma is a fundamental principle that guides the entire quest or the entire journey of seeking. It is through the Dharma when we seek Artha. And here Artha can refer to any physical felicity, be it wealth, land, power, whatever. It is called as an Artha. But Artha by itself is of no use if it does not lead to Bhoga, which is Kama. But since Dharma is guiding, the Kama will also be something that is within the confines of or within the framework of the dharma. So all forms of enjoyment which a man seeks through the artha, which has come to him by following the path of dharma, okay, is the kama. Finally, when the realization dawns that the cycle of one leading to two, leading to three, okay, and is repeating itself for countless janmas, there is an intense dispassion to seek something which is permanent, to seek bliss which is permanent. Therefore, the fourth Purushartha is called as moksha. And when we look at it from our system point of view, moksha is not release from the world. Because the word moksha means to release. Here it is not a release from the world, but here the word in our system, the word moksha means release from limited understanding about oneself, which is leading us to go round and round between dharma, artha, kama, dharma, artha, kama. That is moksha. In other systems like Sankhya, Vedanta and all those things, it is released from the worldly existence. Okay. So that is why the world is rejected in order to seek something higher. So world is lower and something else is higher. But for us, since there is only one, there cannot be high and low in that one. The word moksha means being free from the thoughts of limitations, the thoughts of contractions, the sankochas, which will enable us to realize that all bliss is happening or is coming from within. So we stop searching for it without. So moksha. So dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are the four purusharthas. Out of the four purusharthas, the highest purushartha is called as the moksha, or it is called as parama purushartha or paramartha. So paramartha prabodhini, prabodhika, one who kindles the sadhaka towards or the devotee to become a sadhaka, seeking the highest purushartha. So it is, since it is only Devi whose grace or by whose grace we can even seek her. In Tamil, we have one song by one of the greatest Tamil saints by name Manika Vachagar. He says, Avan Arulale, Avan Thal Vanangi. I am bowing to his feet because of his grace. So without his grace, I cannot even bow to his feet. So similarly here, it is her grace which will make us seek her. So she is Parama Artha Prabodhika. Paramartha Prabodhika.
Dakshina.
Dakshina is the next term. Dakshina means the path of dexterity, which involves a lot of expert handling. So the word Dakshina means south also, but here it is the path of perfect implementation. Okay. Normally, we are familiar with the term Dakshina in usages of ritual context, wherein the fees paid to the priest is called as Dakshina. So the fees that is paid to the officiating priest is called as Dakshina. Okay. Now, it's very interesting to know how this term came, how this term originated. we probably cannot appreciate its full measure in the current context of the puja and archana that we see. But from the Shrauta Yagas, the Vedic yajnas that were conducted, things were so meticulously planned and it required a very, very skilled execution. For example, the origin of Indian geometry or Indian mathematics is in the text by name Shulba Sutras, which is a part of the Kalpa. What does the Shulba Sutra do? Shulba Sutra lays out the various Veda or the Chiti construction. Chiti is the Vedic, the place for performing the Vedic sacrifices, yajnas. How to construct the yajna Vedi? So the details such as what should be the measurement of the pits, the size of the pits, okay, the shapes of the pits, because they were all not the square kind of thing. And unlike now, wherein we are using one ready-made thing, okay, they had to be constructed. So they were squares, they were round, they were semicircular, and it would go as much as having a falcon or a eagle layout till that. How many bricks will go into it? What should be the dimensions of the bricks, the ishtikas? So this required special set of mathematical knowledge. And this is where in the Bodhayana's Shilpa Sutra, we come across what we today know as the Pythagoras theorem. So right from the planning of the Yajna Vedi, see, we have not even gone into the process of the yajnas. This is the process of building the Vedic sacrificial altar. If so much of precision is emphasized there, you can imagine what would be the precision in the sequencing, in the materials used, in the way the mantras have to be chanted or accompanied, and all those, because it was a very, very diligently planned activity. At the completion of that, the Yajamana, okay, the sponsorer, if you can use that term, the Yajamana is so pleased with the manner in which the officiating priests have very skillfully conducted. He is rewarding them for their skills. Therefore, it is called as Dakshina. So, Dakshata. Daksha means dexterity. So, as a reward for the dexterity in or the perfection in executing that entire plan, whatever fee is offered, it is called as Dakshina. So normally the word Dakshina means skillful execution. Devi is called as Dakshina because the process of the spiritual sadhana is also, or it also requires very, very meticulously adhering to the path. And that is why it is so special. Otherwise, everybody's nature is the same. The knowledge that, let's say, for example, if you have attended a few classes, even which are conducted by great wise men, okay, you have listened to the entire text of Acharya Abhinavagupta or read the entire text of Acharya Abhinavagupta. Still, are we in a position to claim that we are progressing in the path of sadhana correctly. Because the path of sadhana requires a lot of, see, the existence of grace is one aspect, but it also involves a lot of human effort, the commitment, and the focus. So the sadhana, the path of sadhana is full of such planned activity. One cannot or one cannot expect success if he is not prepared to give that kind of commitment to it. Or else we are all doing time pass. Just to satisfy, okay, I am a sadhaka, I say that I am a sadhaka. But actually I am doing time pass. It is because of this commitment that people were able to, or the jnanis or the yogis were able to reach that levels or that heights of spiritual glory. So since the sadhana is the path of skillful execution, Devi is called as Dakshina. So she is Dakshina.
Dakshina Murti.
Okay. Dakshina Murti. The term Dakshina Murti is very popularly understood as a form of Shiva. At least in the olden temples, you will find, even now in many of the temples in the South India, you will find the Dakshinamurti normally as a Koshta Vigraha, okay, in the niche on the southern facing wall. So the Dakshinamurti is always south facing. Dakshinamurti is an aspect of jnana, okay, one who bestows the wisdom. And normally he will be seated under a banyan tree with 4 disciples or the sages seated under his feet, his hand holding the Chinmudra, he with half closed eyes. Okay, this is a normal depiction. The other hands, the attributes in the other 3 hands normally changes. Okay. So, Dakshinamurti is that aspect of Shiva. But why Dakshinamurti? Because Aghora, which is the south facing out of the 5 faces of Shiva, the Aghora Mukha is the south facing Mukha. And Aghora Mukha always represents Jnana. Even in the Agama such as the Makutagama or the Vatulagama, it makes it very, very clear that Aghora Mukha is directly related to Vidya and the fire of Jnana, the Jnanagni and Vidya. So all forms of Shiva which are derivative of the Aghora face, they depict or they stand for knowledge, including Nataraja, which is an Aghora Murti. Nataraja is always south facing. So, because Aghora, that which releases us from the Ghora, and Ghora is the existence in duality. Aghora, one who frees us from the existence in or existence of believing in dualness. So Dakshinamurti is that Swarupa of Shiva, which stands for absolute knowledge. And Devi is Dakshinamurti. So Dakshinamurti. Okay. With this, we'll close.
Yes,
Next is Dakshina.
sure. We will continue next time. Thank you. Thank you, Shekharji. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you, Shekharji. Namaskar to all.